was my why. My dream is to live in a world where companies design and deliver products, services, and experiences which are meaningful and enrich people's life, and where business models see companies, stakeholders, employees, customers, all as human beings with one common shared goal: a more peaceful, healthy, and happier life. For me, it was about in which world would I rather live in. And if we look at the advancement of the progression of evolution in business, or if you prefer, at the different management approaches we have there, we see that we have, in business point 1, business is only about maximizing shareholder value and profit. In business point 2, it's about the customer. So it's about creating and keeping customers. If we look at business point 3, instead, it's about employees first, because you cannot have happy customers unless you have happy, engaged employee. And then comes version 4.0, where it's about having purpose first. Business should start by understanding why they do what they do. In the words of Simon Sinek, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. To me, it seems like the old millennial discussions about what is at the center of the solar system, the Earth or the Sun. So for me, we are at the cross where we can start to realize that actually it is, or it should be, happiness at the center. I believe that companies can contribute to happiness for everyone. Happiness for the customers that they serve, happiness for the employees that work within the organization, but also happiness for the society. And if we look at the value of happiness, happiness really matters for business. Why? Because when our customers and our employees are happy, we can have profitable growth. Because happy customers are the most profitable one, because they're 4.5 times more willing to pay a price premium, 2.7 times more likely to keep doing business with you. They also are more likely to recommend you to friends and colleagues, and they forgive you more, and they provide you valuable feedback for improvements. On the other side of the question, happy employees generate 20% lower turnover, are 17% more profitable, and 20% more productive. They also are more creative and more innovative. So happy customers and happy employees, they actually drive profitable growth. So happiness should be the new important metrics in business. So why yellow? Yellow is the primary color which it gets most associated with words like warmth, cheer, happiness. Why? Because we associate it with the sun. But interestingly enough, the sun is actually not yellow, it's white. We perceive it as yellow because of the wavelength in the atmosphere. And even though we need the sun to exist, and plants need the sun to grow, if we look straight into the sun, we get blinded. So there is this beautiful metaphor by Tal Ben-Shahar, which is a leading expert in happiness, which says that happiness is just like the sun. If we look straight into it, we get blinded. If we pursue happiness directly, we get actually unhappy. What we should do is to pursue happiness indirectly, by doing the things that make us happy. And what are those things in a business context? What can businesses do in order to increase happiness indirectly? Together with Stan, we collected over 275 examples in our Yellow Goldfish crowdsourcing project, and we start analyzing them all, and we find that there are 9 types of yellow goldfish, those little extra that companies can do to increase happiness for employees, customers, and society. And we very conveniently identified those under the acronyms of happiness. So the 9 things, the 9 ways a company can use are health, autonomy, purpose, play, integrity, nature, which stands both for experiencing nature and delight by design, so beauty. Empathy, simplicity, and smile, which is also about celebration and acknowledgement and rewarding. So the example that we picked here is an example from General Electric's healthcare and MRI machine. A few years ago, G.R.O.W.T.H had just made this new brand machine for a kid's scan. And he was so proud of this new machine that he decided to take the time to get out of his laboratory and go to the hospital to see the machine in action and enjoy the joy of the customers going into the machine. So guess what? When he arrived there and he started looking at the first customer, the first patient, it was a little girl. And she looked terrified. And she was crying. And she was hanging on her parents, and she didn't want to go in the machine. That was his grounding moment. The moment in which he could see the world from the eyes and from the heart of this little girl. And he realized, in his own words, that the machine he had made and spent years on building was just like a brick with a hole in it for the little girl. So what did he do? He went back to his office and he decided to reach up. He decided to change the game. So he went to the Stanford Design School. He learned everything he could learn about design thinking, a human-centered approach, and he set up a team to operationalize all of the new learnings that he had. And then it was time for WOW blossoming through this. He created the Adventure series. He completely redesigned not so much the product, but the experience around the product. And what happened this time, the first time that he observed a patient going in, the little kids were all excited going into the machine, like we're waiting to jump into it. They no longer needed sedation. And when they get out of the machine, they actually turned to their parents and went, "Can we do this again tomorrow?" Like, that was for him, finally. He had really reached happiness-driven growth. He had changed in an impactful and meaningful way the life of those kids, of their parents, which were no longer stressed, of the employees, which no longer had to fight to get anyone in the machine. But there was even more harvest. And that was before, like 80% of those kids needed sedation to go into the machine. That required an anesthesiologist, if I can pronounce that right, which means that they also take 10 to 15 minutes for every kid to go in the machine. It would take time less, so they could only do a very limited number of scans every day, requiring top medical. After this, those anesthesiologists were no longer needed. Sedation was no longer needed, which meant financially, it also had a great impact. Not only they needed less doctors, but they could actually do even more scans on a day, which at societal level meant we could actually save even more life. So the impact of those little or big yellow goldfish can be absolutely massive. And that is why with Stan we have written Yellow Goldfish. So for now, I want to leave you with a question. What will your yellow goldfish be? Thank you.